Welcome to the Ask the Experts podcast. Here's Curran Bhatia.
I am Curran Bhatia, and this is Ask the Experts. Got a great show for you today. We're going to start it off with the heavyweight, undefeated Polish-American Adam Kownacki. He's fighting at Barclays Center. He's headlighting tomorrow night on Fox on Saturday, March 7th. He has the tough task of facing Robert Helenius, who is a little older, but he's a tall opponent. Helenius is. He's 6'6.5", so he's going to have the height advantage. So we're going to talk to Adam Kownacki about that fight. I'm going to talk to Adam about he has dreams about being the first Polish fighter to become heavyweight world champion. He was offered the Anthony Joshua fight last June. He turned it down. I'm going to ask him why he did that, if becoming a heavyweight champion is his goal. I'm going to talk to him about how he would match up with Fury, how he would match up with Wilder. He's a big player in this heavyweight division. He's undefeated. He brings out crowds. So you're going to hear my sit-down conversation with Adam Kownacki. And then we're going to look back at the heavyweight fight between Fury and Wilder, the rematch. It was epic, as we know. Tyson Fury defeating Deontay Wilder, this one against conventional wisdom. And a lot of people said Deontay Wilder didn't look like himself. And after the fight, a few excuses, you could say, came out. Wilder said the reffing was unfair in terms of referee Kenny Bayless. The biggest excuse that seems to have had the most attention is that Wilder wore an extensive costume or an outfit to honor Black History Month to the ring, and he said that that outfit was 40 to 45 pounds. Now, he said that his legs were worn down, and by the time he got in the ring, in his words, quote unquote, my legs were gone. Okay, so he is basically saying the outfit was part of the reason he wasn't able to perform at a top level. He said it was way too heavy. Now, that outfit cost $40,000, and I will be speaking to Cosmo Lambino and Donato Crowley. They're of Cosmo's Glamsquad. They are the costume designers, the image consultants who worked with Deontay Wilder to create that outfit. And I'm going to ask them, what was their reaction when they first heard Deontay Wilder was saying that was one of the reasons he lost for the first time in his career. And he also said it was too heavy than he realized. He didn't realize it was going to be that heavy. He didn't realize it was going to be that long of a ring walk. So did he try it on before? What was going on? What were the details? How did the whole process come together? And are they going to work with him again? I'm going to talk to them about that. And if they do, are they going to make changes to the outfit? And then, continuing to look back at the big heavyweight fight, Fury versus Wilder, I'm going to be talking to Eric Paulen. He was the producer for the documentary series that followed both Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder for 4 weeks, and that was called Inside Wilder Fury 2. That aired on both Fox and ESPN. I worked alongside Eric Paulen. I was a producer of the Countdown show, previewing the fight he produced, Inside. And we're going to talk about the footage that he saw behind the scenes. What was the stuff coming in? Was there any vulnerabilities in terms of Deontay Wilder? Were we seeing anything in training? Was there any indication the fight was going to play out the way it did? Of course, Tyson Fury knocking out Deontay Wilder in the 7th round. Eric Paulen was also there on fight night. He was part of the ring walk, so we're going to get his perspective looking back on that epic night. But to start it off, like I said, he's undefeated. He's 20-0 with 15 knockouts. There's talks that if he wins this fight on Saturday, March 7th, he could fight Andy Ruiz next. And that would maybe take his profile up from just a star who sells out the Barclays Center to maybe a national star, a global star. And that is Adam Babyface Kownacki. So without further ado, here's my conversation with Adam Babyface Kownacki. I am Curran Bhatia, and let's ask the experts. I'm Curran Bhatia talking to Adam Kownacki. Adam, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
So I want to talk to you about, you came from Poland when you were 7 years old, came to Brooklyn. So forget the culture shock for a second, but I wanted to talk to you about that immigrant mentality, right? And there's so much going on in terms of politics, and it seems like immigrants get blamed for everything, right? And you come from Poland, you don't know the language, and what you've built now is a heavyweight contender on the doorstep of getting a title shot. So what do you think about that, the hard-working immigrant mentality and what you've been able to do with your Polish culture?
Right. I mean, coming here was lucky. My parents got lucky. We applied for the green card lottery, and they won. So they packed the bags, everything we had in Poland, and came here. And it was the right choice. My parents took a risk to give me and my brothers a better life, which we were proving to. I mean, I'm a top-ranked heavyweight fighter. My other brother is a state trooper, and my youngest brother is in the construction business. So everybody's doing very well, and we're living the American dream.
It's the American dream. You guys are striving. You guys are doing big things. So let's talk a little bit about your nickname. Okay, so before I do, I want to read you some boxing nicknames. Okay, ready? Bronze Bomber, Gypsy King, The Nightmare, Executioner, Dr. Iron Fist, Dr. Steelhammer. These are tough, menacing names, right? And then we have Babyface. Do you ever think about your nickname and maybe getting something a little bit more tough?
Maybe eventually, because in the beginning it worked very well. Because I came into the ring a little chubby with the Daddy bod. Everybody didn't take me serious. Plus, he had the nickname Babyface, so it was easy fight, no problems. But now it's like the secret is out. So now I'm gonna have to get a tougher nickname to go along with my style.
And so the secret's out, and we know that you've been doing great things in the heavyweight division, 20-0, undefeated. Like I said, on the doorstep of that title shot and that title opportunity. You grew up watching Andrew Golota, right? That was your hero. 6 Polish fighters have attempted to go for the world championship, the world heavyweight championship, and 6 times they've tried, 6 times they've failed. So what's going to be different about you and your attempt at becoming heavyweight champion?
Lucky number 7, right?
There you go.
I mean, it's the stars lining up, so I feel this year will be very big for me, and I just got to capitalize on what I've been working so hard for the past 15 years. This fight coming up in March 7th is in the Barclays Center. This is your 10th straight time. You're 9-0 in the Barclays Center, and I've been there during your fights. It's a sea of red, right? All your supporters and fans. So what is it going to take this time to get to 10-0 at Barclays Center? You're taking on Robert Helenius, they call him the Nordic Nightmare, right? He's 6'6.5", so he's going to have the height advantage. What's it going to take to get to 10-0 at Barclays Center? Just hard work. I mean, I'm putting a lot of hard work in with my trainer, Keith Trimble and Chris Carson. We've been working very hard, and it's hard work, it pays off, and it's going to pay off March 7th.
And we were thinking about who your next opponent would be. I'm sure you wanted it to be a title shot versus a Deontay Wilder or an Anthony Joshua. There was talks about Dominic Breazeale. It ended up being Robert Helenius, like we said. So Robert Helenius came out, and I want to read this to you. He said, Kownacki is about to feel the strength of Thor's hammer. So are you afraid of Thor's hammer?
No, of course not. I mean, it's tough. I mean, he's happy on the fight, and it's definitely going to be a tough fight. I can't underestimate nobody, because he was a former European champion. So he definitely brings a lot to the table. But beating him will be huge, And I look forward to doing that on March 7th. And
we said Robert Helenius has the height advantage, right? 6'6.5". He's going to have about 3.5 inches on you. So are you bringing in tall sparring partners? Are you bringing in rangy people to practice fighting a taller opponent?
Yeah, right now we have a kid from Poland, actually. His name is Damien. He's an amateur, but he has a same size, similar style. So we're getting ready. We're leaving no rocks unturned. And as I was saying, when they were discussing your opponent, the other person they talked about was Dominic Breazeale. Now, we know Breazeale, he had the loss to Deontay Wilder. But recently on social media, I'm sure you saw this, Breazeale puts up a picture of a duck. He puts the caption, and I'm going to read this to you because I want to get your response. He said, now he, talking about you, wants to fight a washed-up dude instead of giving the fans a heavyweight slugfest and fighting me. Go ahead and pad your record and stay safe. That's Dominic Breazeale talking about you. So what's your response to Dominic Breazeale? Listen, we offered him the fight. He outpriced himself. He was looking to cash out on his career because he knew what was coming to him. So talk is cheap. We made an offer, or I told my managers to try to get the fight. He outpriced himself because he knew that would be his final payday, and decided to go with a different route, But it's not a padded record. Robert Helenius is a tough opponent. And it will be a slugfest because Adam Kownacki is must-watch TV, and you're going to see that on Fox come March 7th.
And we know that you are a come-forward fighter. You're dangerous, dangerous for any opponent. So what I wanted to ask you about was, I know that your goals in this sport, you want to be heavyweight champion. And Anthony Joshua last year was supposed to take on Big Baby Miller. Big Baby Miller tested positive. They needed a replacement opponent. And they came to you and they offered you this fight with Anthony Joshua. So why didn't you take the fight with Joshua? Because that was your opportunity to become world champion.
I don't think it was a real offer. It was just hearsay to have the name clear that they offered the fight to me. I mean, there was no paperwork. I mean, it was also 6 weeks out. I don't feel like in order for that kind of fight, I want to be prepared and not be treated like a sub-in. But also I wasn't in shape. I just fought. I took some time off. I went back to Poland to get some stuff, and just wasn't the right timing, you know?
So it wasn't the right time for you, but Andy Ruiz stepped in. He had just fought 41 days before. So when you watched Andy Ruiz upset Anthony Joshua on June 1st, did you look at that and say, oh, that could have been me?
No, it's hats off. I mean, he did a great job. He capitalized on the opportunity, and now he's going in the history books as a world champion, which is something I want to be. He's the first Mexican world champion. I want to be the first Polish Mexican champion. So it's definitely something showed me that he could do it, you know, that especially somebody with a daddy bod could achieve.
Right. And so no regrets at all when you look back at that situation?
Of course not. I mean, it's life. I think everything happens for a reason, and it just wasn't my time yet.
And so right now, when we look at the heavyweight landscape, with Ruiz in it, it was kind of the four-headed monster, right? Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, Anthony Joshua, Andy Ruiz. Now, after Ruiz's last performance, we're back to the three-headed monster. So with those champions that I mentioned, Deontay Wilder, the WBC champ, Joshua has the other three belts, Fury, the lineal champ, who do you want to get a crack at first so that you can become the first Polish-American champion? And
my goal is to be heavyweight champion. So doesn't matter. I mean, obviously, I hope it's the winner of Tyson Fury and Wilder, because I feel I rank them the highest right now, because I feel Joshua still has something to prove after his fight, and then he didn't knock out Andy Ruiz in spectacular fashion. I mean, he boxed for 12 rounds. He did a great job doing that, but still he has a question mark next to his name. So I definitely want to fight the best, which I think is going to be the winner of Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder.
And how would you match up against Deontay Wilder? We know he has the big right hand. We call it the great eraser. If you watch his previous fights, he's not doing much, and then boom, lands the right hand. So how would you match up against Deontay Wilder stylistically? I think it would be something fans would truly enjoy watching, because will I be able to put the pressure on him and stop him, or will he be able to hit me with the right hand, and will I be able to take it? I mean, in the past, I should have a good chin, and I could take one on the button, and I don't go nowhere. I keep coming forward. So it'll be a real. We're gonna see what happens when he hits me with the right hand. And the other side of the coin is Tyson Fury. We know that rematch is going to happen. So how would you match up against Fury? He's obviously got the movement. He runs around the ring. He's a big guy, but he can move. But you're a big guy and you can move too. So how would you match up against Tyson Fury? I think it'll be good. I think also I'll come forward. Obviously he's a little better boxer than Wilder, a better mover. So it'll be a good matchup, I feel. I feel Otto Wilder proves his last fight with him that he'll be hurt. And I'm looking to just capitalize on what Otto did. And we talked about Anthony Joshua. Obviously, everyone saw the vulnerabilities there with the chin the first time around against Ruiz, but he made the adjustments. He's become more technical. So the game plan against Anthony Joshua, if you were able to get that fight, would be what? Something what Andy Ruiz did on during his fight. I mean, just walk him down and cut off the ring, which I don't think he did in the rematch. I think if he cut off the ring on the rematch and let his hands go, he could have knocked him out again. And your last fight against Chris Arreola, a lot of people were thinking that you were going to knock this guy out. He was kind of at the tail end of his career, but it ended up being Rock'em Sock'em Robots, right? And it actually set records, CompuBox records of punches landed and thrown in heavyweight fighting. So what was that experience like? You probably thought you were going to be able to stop him, and now you're in a war with a guy and throwing and landing record number of punches. Both of you guys are. So what was that last fight like with Chris Arreola? It was fun. It was a fun matchup. I knew that coming into the fight. And then he had that extra motivation of if he lost, he would hang up his gloves.
But her performance like that, I don't know if he's going to do it. I mean, I haven't heard anything on his news of lately, but I guess he left everything he had during that fight, and it showed. So it was a great fight for the fans, and I think everybody enjoyed it.
It was a great fight for the fans, and that fight was in August, and you had another big life moment in August, right? Your son was born?
Yes, sir.
So what has it been like being a father?
It's the greatest feeling in the world. Every time I'm down, not feeling in the mood, I just think about looking at him and him smiling, and just makes your whole day that much better.
And so just to close it out, you came here as an immigrant from Poland when you were 7 years old. You couldn't speak English. You said you were bullied. And now you're on the doorstep of challenging for the heavyweight championship of the world. So when you look back at everything that you've achieved, do you take pride in what you've achieved, and is it the American dream?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm living proof, right? If you put your mind to it, America gives you the opportunity to accomplish whatever you plan on doing, and there's no better country in the world.
Well, Adam Kownacki, best of luck to you. You have a big task ahead with Robert Helenius on Fox March 7th, and then hopefully we can see you in a title fight sometime soon. Thank you so much for the time.
Thank you for having me.
That was Adam Babyface Kownacki, 20-0, 15 knockouts. He is headlining at Barclays Center on Fox on Saturday, March 7th. He has the tough task of Robert Helenius, who is a tall fighter, 6'6.5". That will be a test, and it seems that most likely the mega fight between Kownacki and Andy Ruiz could hang in the balance. So a lot on the line there for Adam Kownacki to perform at a high level, and then to get that big opportunity against Andy Ruiz, which would be a huge fight. So now we turn our attention to looking back to Wilder Fury 2. It was an epic fight, an epic night. Fury winning by knockout, and we said that Wilder came out with some excuses after. He said his costume that he wore to the ring was too heavy. That was one of the reasons that contributed to his loss. So I will be speaking to Cosmo's Glamsquad. They are the creators of the suit. What do they think about those comments? What was the process like? Will they work with Deontay Wilder again? And the one thing I should mention is that there's actually a lot more to the outfit. There was more that didn't end up happening. They had worked on extras, and there was other parts of it. So we're gonna find out exactly what was supposed to happen with the costume. So here is my conversation with Cosmo Lambino and Donato Crowley of Cosmo's Glamsquad, the creators of Deontay Wilder's ring walk outfit. I am Curran Bhatia. I am joined by Cosmo's Glamsquad's Donato Crowley and Cosmo Lambino. So thank you guys so much for joining me. And my show, we probably have a lot of boxing fans who may not be familiar with what you guys do. So could you just introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about what you do?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I have a clothing store in Melrose. I've been in the clothing store for I've been on Melrose for 30 years. And I've had this clothing store for 11 years. And it's called Cosmo's Glamsquad. And we are image consultants. We create images for rappers, singers, all the upcoming artists. And we've worked with artists like NSYNC and from back in the day and all the way up to now the fight world, the sports world, that actually are performers and they want to look like rappers and they want to look like artists, and Deontay is one of them. So it was a big opportunity. Deontay's wife came in the store, Telly, she's absolutely beautiful. And she was shopping and she says, in passing, my fiance Deontay is a fighter and he wears a mask. So me and Donato were like,
By the way, I'm Donato Crowley. I'm his partner as well. We have a label called Cosmo and Donato together.
Yeah, it's called CD.
Yeah,
yes.
CD.
Yes. So anyway, in passing, and she goes, you want to see the outfit? So we looked at the outfit and we're like, she goes, you think you guys could do something like that? And I'm like, I looked at Donato because the mask was really cool, but it kind of looked like this party city.
Yeah,
mask.
It was like a mask. It had some spikes in it, and it was cool.
Yep.
And if you've ever seen, everybody's seen what we've done now. We do really over the top pieces, and we create them all ourselves, handcrafted. Like this, most all of, I think every one of Deontay's costumes was leather and studs.
Yeah.
And like hand sewn, hand created.
Yeah.
We have an entire team that does it.
Yeah.
This particular costume.
We actually been making these masks for Burning Man. You know, people come from all over the world, you know, and they're like specialty. My store is very specialty, one of a kind. You know, it's like an art museum meets Studio 54. It's an experience. But so anyway, she says, "You think you guys could do something for my man?" And then we're like, "Oh, can we?" You know. And I showed her a little bit of how we get down.
Yeah.
And before you know it, we're making Deontay his outfit. And what fight was that?
That was Brazil, the first one.
Brazil.
Oh, Fury was the first one, then Brazil.
Yes.
Yeah, then Ortiz, and then Fury.
And that was like the month of the last episode of Game of Thrones. So we were really inspired. Yeah. Because Deontay, when we met him, he's like a supermodel. He's like absolutely gorgeous, you know. And he wanted to be this like war god, this warlord, you know. And we're like, oh my god, we have to create something so epic for him. So that's when we made the first outfit. And that was
actually, he on that outfit, he really had just seen a moto piece that we had done that was all crystallized. It was like a moto piece. And he put it on. He goes, "Oh, this is what I want to wear for my ring walk." And we're like, "It's great, but let us add to it. You know, let us add a little weight to it." Just kidding. Too soon, right?
well, that's what I wanted to ask you about. So obviously, Deontay has looked great on these ring walks recently. You could totally see the Game of Thrones. You could see the excellence, the work that went into it. And he fought Tyson Fury last Saturday. He ends up losing. And then he came out with some excuses. And he said part of the reason he didn't perform well is because his suit weighed him down early in the fight and his legs were gone. So I'm just curious, when you guys first heard that excuse from Deontay Wilder, what was going through your head?
It was kind of a shock, honestly, and it was kind of very, like, it was, like, heart-wrenching. Like, oh, my God.
It didn't sound like Deontay to me.
It didn't sound like Deontay.
That doesn't sound like
you know, because I know that Deontay would never throw us under the bus, because I know he absolutely loved the outfit and the fitting, you know, and it didn't sound like it really came from Deontay. So we didn't believe it, but we were on pins and needles all day, because we were trying to call Deontay, but actually he was busy recovering. So that night before we went to bed, we got FaceTime, and it was Deontay, and it was like, guys, things get twisted in the media. I love you guys so much. You guys are family, you know, and we love Deontay. You know, we got to know him and his wife and his kids, and you know, we got really close, like family. You know, so it was so reassuring to hear him, you know, FaceTime like you and I right now, saying, I love you guys and just get ready for the other fight. I'm taking you guys to the top with me and get ready for the next fight with Fury.
But he did acknowledge the weight of the costume. You know, he did acknowledge that. And we actually listened to him in that. And we're like, you know, listen, going forward, we know that we need to make adjustments in that because, you know, he had to wear that costume for a lot longer than anticipated during that ring walk. Normally it's a 5-minute ring walk. For that, it's not a problem. But, because of the way the timing went in the back.
But he was in it a while before.
Right.
So I could see the weight, you know what I mean? Maybe, maybe contributing to it. I understand, you know? But he clarified everything with us. And next time we're going to make the outfit in Scott tissue.
Well, that's probably a smart plan. So when he says 40 to 45 pounds, do you think that's accurate? And why does it weigh that much? He mentioned batteries because obviously it had the lights in the eyes. Is that how much it weighed, and why does it weigh that much?
That's something that's really interesting. So
we didn't actually weigh it, though. You know, I wish he was here with us right now because I would just like drop it on a scale right now.
Yeah. But
we didn't actually weigh it. So basically, it's the same components as the other outfits. Basically, all made in leather, all crystals. But the wiring did add a little weight, and the battery packs did add some weight. So I could see it being,
So those battery packs also weren't just for LED lights. They weren't just for the lighting like that. What they didn't get to see, somebody at the arena dropped the ball.
Really?
And when we had asked for, we were very clear and went over it many times. We said, no fog machines, no lasers. So they had fog machines there. We asked for a blackout right at the end of the song so that he could have a moment. And with the
whole stadium, The
and
whole
the
stadium
fog comes through,
Yeah.
and the lasers go on. There were lasers coming out of the crown that would have touched the ceiling in the stadium.
So you guys didn't see the
and
full
lasers
effect.
coming out of his arm pieces here. So had you seen like what really was like that moment was incredibly iconic, and that's where the extra weight was from these lasers and battery packs. But like, you know,
But you guys didn't get to see that because they dropped the ball in the end.
the fog machines just went straight in the air.
They went in the air.
They didn't even gather fog.
So it would have been even more of a moment. But the good thing is that the costumes did look amazing, and him walking out. But you guys, the sad thing is that you guys didn't get the full effect. There was much more.
No, it absolutely looked unbelievable. It was one of the best outfits I've ever seen in a ring walk, and I've been covering boxing for a long time. So he said that the first time he tried it on was 15 or 20 minutes before the fight. Had he tried it on in your store? Had he seen it before, or was that the first time he got it?
He stated I've seen articles where he actually stated that he actually did have a fitting the day before. So
okay,
I'm not sure where you're getting your information, but he did state that he did do a fitting the day before. And then again, he had to wear it right before the fight, obviously. So, yeah. But listen, I do want to talk about that moment, like that ring walk moment. I think it's really important to mention the gravity and the iconicness of that ring walk.
Yes.
You know, like with the whole Black History Month and walking in front of every one of those figures that have represented the fight for Black equality. You know, and to have him walk in this costume and this. Like, it is considered the best ring walk moment in history at this moment, you know, and it's unfortunate that he lost, and we'll make sure that whatever we have to do to adjust ourselves going forward for the next one, that we're going to make sure that he wins, you know, but I do want to talk about that moment because it was incredible.
Or the outfit wins.
Well, that was my next question. So he came to you and he said, I want to do something special for Black history, because in the past we've seen the gold mask and the nice gold outfits. This was different. So what was the significance for Black History Month that was his vision, and how did you guys bring it to reality?
Well, actually, you know, he trusts us with what we come up with because of the last 3 outfits that we made him. So basically, you know,
all black. He wanted all black.
He wanted all black, of course, for
solid
Black History Month. Yeah. You know, so we went over it with him. You know, but when we presented the outfit to him, it was a complete like aha moment. Like, you know, Deontay lit up. You know, and he loves, like, it was like a kid in the candy store. You know, and he really loves, you know, wearing this costume.
And we didn't tell them about the lasers or the lights yet. We were just like, oh, so what do you think of the costume? And they went crazy over it, and they were like, but there's a little bit more to it.
So we said, hit the lights, and then we had a remote control, and then the neon lights came out. The lasers came out of the outfit, and we were just all floored and blown away. You know, we were so happy that everything. You know,
it's pretty cool if you get to see the video of it. Like it's like wow, like it's impressive. Yeah. But that is where the extra weight came from for sure. You know
that makes sense. Did you watch the fight, and what were your thoughts as you were watching the fight itself?
I was mortified. I was mortified because I never thought that he was going to lose. You know, you always think that, you know, he's going to win, you know, with that winning streak. So watching the fight was heart-wrenching, you know, and from the first round, you know, and I just had a bad vibe, and and then it just kind of got worse and worse and worse. And I couldn't like even look. You know, it was really devastating. So it was heartbreaking for like everybody.
For me, when I was watching it, I was like, that's not Deontay. Honestly, I was like that. I've never seen Deontay look like that ever. I mean, something was up. You know what I mean? Something was up with him, because that's not Deontay. He is one of the strongest, and you know, he's a king. He's an icon, like,
and confident. And you know, every fight that we dressed him for, he always had this confident, and everything was like light.
Right.
You know, it was just really light, and he was just like, you know, happy, you know, just to get in there and get it done. You know, and this fight, there was different vibes. You know, it didn't look like him at all. You know, and
a loss for him is a loss for us too, because you know we always knew that going into this, that you can't walk into the ring like that, and if you lose, it's going to be a heavy hit for him. It's going to be a heavy hit for, you know, what we did as well. You know, and so we represent Deontay, we represent his vision. We're going to continue to do that. as we go forward, and we're going to make some adjustments, and the world is going to be excited to see what we do next.
And do you think now that we've had a couple days since the fight and we've had some time to digest everything that happened, do you think the reason he wasn't himself was just because of the suit? Do you think there was other things going on? What if you had to just take a guess at the overall reasoning why he wasn't able to perform at his top level?
I think you'll have to ask Deontay that question. You know, I really do, because I mean, we just tell you what we saw there, and what we saw, you know, was that he looked great, you know, but we did see an energy thing which was a little bit different.
It was a different energy this time, for sure.
But this was a lot on the line, so I get that. You know, there was an intensity, and a direction in his walk in the dressing room, and but we knew that this is that moment that he was going to surpass Muhammad Ali.
Yeah. So there was a big expectation involved, you know, and I know there was a lot of pressure because I felt it. Like, you could cut it with a knife.
And then also representing all those black icons as you're walking by each and every one of them. There was a lot of weight on this fight, you know. So,
but we're definitely team Deontay. You know, we are team Deontay, and you know, he is a great guy. You know, and you really can't win them all. You know, and as far as I'm concerned, you know, he won 40 fights. You know,
right.
This guy is like amazing. You know, he's got that knockout punch like no other. And you know, we are team Deontay. He's family, and he's a great guy. And like I said, you know, I really don't listen to everything on the media. And thank God we got that phone call from him, you know, so we could actually, we actually slept really good that night.
And we're going to get that belt back. We're going to do whatever we can to get that belt back, you know, like that's for sure.
And now we're preparing for hopefully the trilogy fight with Fury, which is going to be another massive event. And I know you guys said that Deontay called you guys and he wants to work with you again. So can you clue us in on what the next outfit may look like? Have those discussions even happened yet?
We can't talk about that right now.
We can't talk about that right now.
But just, you better stay very prepared and tuned into it, because it's going to be epic, just like this fight's going to be epic.
And safe to say the next outfit will be a little lighter than this one, though.
Like I said, scar tissue.
Well, I want to thank you guys so much for the time. And just last thing, could you tell people where they can find you if they want to work with you and if they want to see all the great work you're doing?
By the way, after the fight, Clarissa Shields came up to us and she's like, "Oh my God, could you make me another outfit? Because we made it for her last fight." She's friends with Deontay. So we saw her walking out of the fight and I'm like, "Are you devastated?" She goes, "Devastated?" She goes, "That outfit was so sick." She's like, "Can you make me one?" And we're like, "Oh, hell yeah." So she's going to be fighting. We're going to be coming up with something for Clarissa. And then we also got Shaquille O'Neal. We made something for him. You know, Deontay gave him our number. So actually, this is all absolutely like wonderful for us. It really is. And, you know, we have a lot of gratitude. I want to thank Deontay, you know.
Yeah, and Tully.
And
definitely, most definitely. Yeah. And you can find us at 7367 Melrose Avenue, Los Angeles 90046. We have 2 Instagrams, which is at Cosmo's Glamsquad, Cosmos with an S, and at Cosmo and Donato. And you can follow us there and keep in on the journey of what we're creating. We're going to be showing you as we go along in this process, and we have some really cool things lined up, even with Deontay, that are pretty amazing. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I am definitely looking forward to see what you come up with next. Looking forward to the next Deontay Wilder ring walk. Thank you so much for the time and giving us your perspective of the events. Very much appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was Cosmo's Glamsquad giving us the inside info on the outfit that Deontay Wilder wore to the ring against Tyson Fury in the rematch. It sounds like there was a lot more to it that didn't actually even end up happening, but still Wilder claimed the weight of the outfit weighed him down, and that caused his legs to not be there and was partially to blame for his performance. We're going to continue to look back at that epic heavyweight fight, and my next conversation is with Eric Paulen. He was the producer for Inside Wilder Fury 2. It was a 4-part documentary series following Tyson Fury, following Deontay Wilder for 4 weeks, giving us access. It aired on Fox and ESPN, and Eric was there on fight night. He was part of the ring walk. So I'm going to talk to Eric Paulen. I am Curran Bhatia. This is Ask the Experts. I am talking to Eric Paulen. He's the senior producer at 5 Films. He was the producer for Inside. Well, what was the name of this show, Eric? First of all, let's start there.
This one was called Inside Wilder Fury 2.
And you've been producing these shows for a long time. The Follow documentaries, the 4-part follow these fighters in training camp and their lives. When you first heard that this was the fight, it was Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury. They're good talkers. They have good backstories. What were you thinking when the fight was first announced and you knew that you were going to be putting together some programming for this?
Well, we were at the Wilder fight versus Luis Ortiz on November 22nd, and when Deontay said that night that was happening, and then all the stories afterwards were all about that fight had already been made, and the PBC and Top Rank were going to get together, and ESPN and Fox were going to cooperate. I got really excited. I mean, you couldn't imagine two characters better suited for a show like we do. Big characters, big personalities, big physically. Everything that you could ever ask for in characters you had with Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury.
And you've done a Deontay Wilder show before, like we talked about the Ortiz rematch, but this was the first time that PBC Fox was getting a look behind the curtain at Tyson Fury. So what were the differences? You're seeing footage come in every day from these guys. What were the differences in training camp, in regimen, in teams around them between Wilder and Fury? What were the differences?
Well, in terms of the training camps, early on we established in show 1 that Tyson was not going to allow us to film in the gym. And he was pretty hardcore with that in everything that he did. I mean, we got ESPN did a shoot with him towards the end of camp that they used some of the stuff in their open for the show, for the fight night. But nobody really got to see what was going on behind the scenes, and which obviously was a lot. Sugar Hill analyzed the previous fight for us in, I believe, show 4. And, he said they were making adjustments throughout, and everything that you heard, everything that you heard that Tyson was doing behind the scenes, and everything that Sugar Hill was going to bring in from the Kronk gym. I mean, it really all came to fruition. And, to be honest, I didn't think it was going to come to fruition. A lot of people felt the same way that I did. I eventually thought that Deontay would, line him up and get to him. But that obviously didn't happen.
That was the conventional wisdom. Wilder had been trending in the right direction, knocking out Luis Ortiz in their rematch. Fury looked vulnerable, you could say, against Otto Wallin in his last fight. And then he comes out and says he is going to go for the second round knockout. And I don't think anyone really believed that, because even though he got knocked down twice in the first meeting with Wilder, he danced around, he moved, he boxed beautifully, and we figured that was his path to victory. So even though he was saying that in press conferences, and of course he brought in Sugar Hill Stewart and parted ways with Ben Davison here, did you have any indication of that might actually be the game plan? Anything outside of the stuff that he was saying? I know you were saying you couldn't see, they weren't inviting you into training, but was there any indication beyond that, any new techniques or anything that he was doing?
No, the first thing we did with both guys was, short of the fact that we went to Italy with Deontay, which was an amazing trip. He gave our producer Jeff Newton and Nick Rourke and Matt Bokel, the team that was with him the first time around, he let us go to Italy with him, which was just amazing. It was amazing footage from, meeting the famous boxer statue, to go into the Colosseum, to meeting with the Pope, which was just an incredible experience for us to be able to be there with him and follow him along and establish that relationship, which grew throughout the second episode. But in terms of Tyson Fury, the first thing we shot, the first day that we were in the camps, was a press conference in Los Angeles. And Tyson had been aggressive, and you figured you were going to see some fireworks like you wound up seeing in the last press conference. But there was anything but, and they were very cordial to each other. We had both fighters mic'd, which was a nice part of the end of the first show, where they were talking about, all of a sudden Tyson says, "I'm going to knock him out in the second round," which had come out of left field to me. And, the famous, or the infamous, Deontay saying to Tyson that you have pillowcases as hands. How are you going to do that? And if you watched the first fight, you would have felt that. But the second fight was anything but from the minute it started. I mean, he charged out at Deontay and was aggressive, and it was obvious that he needed to make this change in the training camp, and there was something missing in that Wallin fight, and it sure as heck wasn't missing when that fight started last Saturday night in Vegas, because he was aggressive and everything just came together. I mean, it was a show. I mean, it was like it was a clinic. It really was a clinic in how to beat Deontay Wilder, and he talked about it, and he bragged about it, and you felt he was conceited about it, and yet from the minute the fight started, he backed it up.
He certainly backed up his prediction. Tyson Fury did. I think no longer is Deontay Wilder going to say you have pillowcases for fists, because if he does, then Wilder got knocked down twice and knocked out by pillowcases. So, I want to talk to you about the fight. But one last question about working with both sides of it here. So now, Tyson Fury didn't let you into training the way that other fighters did. Did that make your job more difficult? Did you have to kind of work around that? Was that, as a producer who has to create 4 episodes that follow these guys around, was that a challenge?
Well, let's be fair in saying that he did each week. They did give us a strength and fitness workout, which, was very different each time. And to say that he worked hard in those strength and conditioning workouts would be an understatement. I mean, he lifted weights. He did. I mean, you saw how hard he was working in those. They were I guess what amounted to about 90-minute workouts, and they were hard, run by his strength and fitness coach, Christian, as he calls him, who pushed him. And Sugar Hill was there for 3 of the 4 of those, I believe, if not the 4th one as well. And so we did have those each week. But what we got out of him in our other moments with him was his personality. So when we were at the residence in Las Vegas with him, we went through a massage with him, and then a hot and a hot and cold therapy session very late at night, where he went back and forth from the pool to the hot tub, and they spoke about how it helps the blood flow, and everything he did was planned out very, very well, and it was well thought out, from bringing in his cook, who he had never done that before, and they were eating 6 meals a day, and the diet was thought out, and he was always drinking his water. And even when in his downtime, I read that he binged Game of Thrones for the first time. I mean, we didn't see that, but I read about that. And we were in his house, and the guys would get together, and they would play pool. And, the training camp was very tight and intimate, and yet very loose. And they seemed to have a lot of fun. And that's what came across with him. Like, the first show, he did an interview with the LA Times, which we tagged along for. And as he gets there, the LA Times is all set up, and he goes, "Well, I'm doing this in the hot tub," and he just jumped in the hot tub. And the personality and the promotion constantly came out from him. And the same with Deontay. I mean, they're both natural promoters, natural big personalities, literally and figuratively. And that I think that came through in our shows, and that, to me, this was in terms of both characters being, top-notch promoters, top-notch, behind-the-scenes stuff. This was my favorite of the four shows. And it wasn't easy. I mean, think of all the organizations that had to come together for this to happen between Fox and ESPN and the PBC and Top Rank. And I think that all four did an amazing job of pushing and promoting this fight, and it was constant. It was everywhere, and everyone was talking about it. And it was such a different feel from any of the, in a good way, from any of the four previous fight camps that we had done. I mean, everywhere you turned that last week, this fight was out there. Everywhere you turned, and it was a lot of. I mean, it was hard work, but it was a lot of fun to work on this one.
And that was my next question for you. One more before we get into the fight.
Sure.
Was that this was the first time that this series, whether you call it Fight Camp or Inside, was on not only Fox but also on ESPN, because we had Fury coming from the Top Rank ESPN family to work with PBC and Fox. So how did that change your workflow at all? Now having the additional network involved, and then also, was that something that you took some pride in? You've done a lot of these shows, but this was the first time that the show was also airing on ESPN in addition to Fox. Did you take pride in that as well?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of pride. I mean, all of us did. The top-ranked people, from the minute that we first spoke to them, from Brad Jacobs and Evan Korn, and then Tim Alcock in Tyson's camp, and Mel. I can't pronounce her last name, but Mel, who does the PR, who did the PR from Tyson's camp, Melissa. They were wonderful. I mean, they couldn't have done anything more for us, and they made it easy, and it was seamless. It was just like we were doing the regular fight camp shows. There was nothing really any different, and it was great because I think the last week ESPN ran all four shows from 8 to 10 o'clock on Sunday night. They ran them all parts 1, 2, 3, and 4 from 8 to 8:30, 8:30 to 9, 9 to 9:30, and 9:30 to 10 o'clock. And to get that Sunday night on ESPN in prime time was amazing. Plus the great times that Fox had. So it was on all over the place. As a matter of fact, when I walked into the weigh-in I walked in very early on Friday afternoon. It was playing in the arena, and it looked great, and it sounded great, and I welled up with pride. I called the guys in the office. I was texting everybody. I go, the show's on in the arena, and everybody's watching it. I mean, it was great because it was airing everywhere. Also, all four outlets, Fox and the PBC and Top Rank and ESPN, were airing clips everywhere on social media. So it was everywhere, and it was fun and exciting, and yeah, we all took a lot of pride in that.
Absolutely. I, next door to you, produced the Countdown show, which also got to air on Fox and ESPN. That was great. And some of the people you mentioned, Brad Jacobs, Evan Korn, I've worked with those people for a long time. Really great people to have involved to help bring these big events to life. So you went to Las Vegas. You were there. So what was the feeling like, the buzz in Las Vegas? Did it have that big fight feel? And then where were you, before the fight? Were you in the locker rooms? Were you in the now infamous ring walks? Tell us a little bit about your experience in Las Vegas.
I got there Thursday afternoon. I went down late on Thursday night to the media room just to kind of get a feel, and I walked through the media room. I walked through the MGM, but you could feel that this one was special. It was on the building. The signs were everywhere, and you could feel it. And then Friday morning, I got there very early for the weigh-in. I picked up my credential and just kind of walked around. We didn't have anything to do. I met some people and said hello, but there was just something there. There was really just something in the arena. There was a feeling when Tyson came in. You could feel it with his entourage. When Deontay came in with his entourage, you could feel it. I just happened to be about 4 feet away from Deontay as they walked through the arena. it was crazy. It was nuts. A lot of British fans were out there on Friday. A lot of boos for Deontay, which he played up very well. I happened to catch their entourage on the way out on Friday, and he saw Tommy Hearns. That was a pretty cool moment that nobody captured on camera. It was just neat. He and Tommy Hearns said hi to each other, and the respect that you see for the guys that did it before was kind of amazing. That stuff was amazing. In terms of fight day, I got there early on Saturday morning. We did a walkthrough. We wanted to make sure all our camera positions were all set, et cetera, et cetera. And then I stayed there for a while and just kind of walked around and soaked in and spoke to Leonard Ellerby, and I spoke to Ray Flores early on in the day, and everybody had that same feeling. And there was just an electricity in the building that built and built and built. And I left and came back. And when we came back, we were in Deontay's locker room for a little while, not as much as we were the last time. It was much different with Fox and ESPN, and there were many more camera crews for the entries and as they walked in, and it was much bigger than the Ortiz fight. It just was. It was there were Fox cameras and ESPN cameras and ESPN digital cameras and PBC cameras and Top Rank cameras, and I think that there were 7 cameras outside when Tyson came in, and I think that there were 2 the last time when Deontay and Luis, 2 or 3 when they walked in the last time. And we did not get into Tyson's locker room beforehand. I think Fox was in there. I believe ESPN was in there. We were in Deontay's locker room. We only had 1 camera. But it was cool. It was very cool back there. There was a lot of buzz as the other fights were heading down to the wire. There were rumors of this costume that Deontay was going to wear and how cool it was. And you had seen the throne. We'd seen the throne on Friday. So we knew about the throne and him coming in on the throne and how cool that was. And I was in front of everything with my cameraman, Nick Rourke, who was filming everything. And that was like, the ring walks were incredible. They were like on a different level. The security, who did a really good job of making sure that nobody got run over. They kind of linked arms and, kept everyone at bay, but enough that we could get our shots. And I got kind of pushed down to ringside both times, so I witnessed it right from ringside. And they were incredible. I mean, they were both incredible and both so... Tyson's was so Tyson, Deontay's was so Deontay. The comparison and contrast of 2 huge entrances, which were just perfectly suited for each fighter. And it was amazing. And then I went and watched the fight like everybody else. I went up, I was up high, and I was startled. I really was startled, but impressed. Thoroughly impressed by Tyson Fury. And I had never been that impressed before.
And yeah, no, the ring walks were absolutely epic. I spoke to the costume designers of Deontay Wilder, and they said that actually there was supposed to be even more to that. There was supposed to be, the lights were supposed to go out, and there was supposed to be lasers from his costume up to the ceiling. So there was even more there, but it was still epic the way it was. Put you on the spot real quick before we talk about the fight itself. Who had the better, more epic ring walk?
It's hard to say because they were just they really were so perfect, both of them. And I was as close as I could be until I just got, basically, I had to run down to the ring or I was going to get run over. So when Tyson got to the ring singing Crazy, it was just and he was singing along with Patsy Cline, and it was just, it was so Tyson, and he looked relaxed and like he was having fun. And then Deontay, who each time the costume outdoes the last costume. I thought the last costume was epic.
So the fight starts, and we have seen Deontay Wilder undefeated. We've seen him hurt a few times against Luis Ortiz in their first meeting. We saw Fury kind of dance around him for a long period of the fight, not necessarily hurt him in their first match. But we see something that we haven't seen. We see Deontay Wilder knocked down. We see Fury is aggressive. He's using the weight. He came in at 273 pounds, which was higher than he's come in before, at least in the first meeting. What were you thinking? Was your jaw, on the floor that we're seeing Deontay Wilder hurt?
Yeah, my jaw was on the floor. And he knocked him down hard. I mean, he knocked him down. And it was like, oh my God, and it's the third round. And like, I looked around and I said, what's going on? And he got right back up. I mean, he did get right back up and he was okay. But there was, his balance was off, and you're in that arena, and it was I think it was a Fury. There were more Fury fans in there. It was so exciting. It was hard to tell, but I mean, you were stunned either way. I think Tyson was kind of stunned because if you look at him, you see like he didn't even know what corner to go to, and he kind of had to recompose himself and catch and go off into the corner that the ref told him to go into, and it was really like all downhill from there for him. I mean, it was just a dominant performance.
And it certainly was for Tyson Fury. I think he shocked a lot of people, myself included. I thought Deontay Wilder was going to win by knockout. I didn't think it was going to be easy because I knew Fury was motivated, but I did not expect to see that, and I don't think many people did. So the fight, the 7th round, Fury has Wilder up against the corner. The towel comes in from Mark Breland, who's the co-trainer with JD's. Since that has happened, Wilder has come out and said he doesn't agree with the towel. He feels like he'd rather die in the ring, he said, which is interesting wording because of all the tragedies we've had in the sport recently. I'm just curious, you watching these guys in training camp, I mean, what was the relationship like with Wilder and Mark Breland in training camp? What was the dynamic? Because they have, like we said, co-trainers with JD's. That's an interesting dynamic. Usually there's one head trainer, one guy in charge, and it makes it all that much more interesting because JD's came out after in the post-fight press conference and said he wouldn't have thrown the towel. So just tell me a little bit about what you knew about the relationship between Deontay, Mark Breland, and JD's.
Nothing different than the last time. I mean, we didn't see anything different. The one scene we did that Mark was included in was a scene that in the last show where Deontay hits so hard that they have to keep changing the mitt guys. He literally has 3 guys to hit mitts, one of whom is Mark Breland. So we saw nothing different in camp, and there was no reason to think anything different about their relationship. When the towel came in, I was too far away to know who threw it. And I can tell you that Mark was in the hallway after the fight and was just, he was upset. He was really upset, and I'm sure it was very hard for him, but he thought he was protecting his fighter. A lot of people agreed with him.